Hello YouTubers, Reloading Bench back with you once again. And after a handful of trips to the range and being too lazy to sort and clean brass, I decided to take a day off and do some of that stuff. And if I'm going to sort and clean, I thought, well, why not do some reloading? And I thought, well, if I'm going to do some reloading, why not do a video very similar to what I did with my Dillon XL750 a few months ago, and did a how I run my Dillon in 2024. So this video is going to be from top to bottom, or as I scan now, from bottom to top, big top. This is going to be a video on how I run my Hornady Lock-n-Load in 2024. And the first thing I need to do is get that cover off. So 1 second, please. All right, so as I did with my Hornady, actually the Hornady was a copy of this. So it all started with this when I decided I'm going to have a cover for my powder drop as well. Simply because there's a lot of steel on there, and steel in the garage don't go well. And I figured I'd try and keep the parts lasting as long as possible. And I get to bust out my friend the finger once again. So I think I'll start up top. I might move the camera a little bit closer so you have a better view, so hang on 1 second. All right, so we got a lot going on here. I will adjust the camera, or rather move the camera to the back side of the press, because there's a lot going on back here that you can't really see based on the front of the press. But I will start up top. So I'm using a case feeding system by Unique Parts. So I'll leave this and all of its components on this side of the press alone for right now, as well as this giant bar that is part of the Unique Parts platform or system, as I call it. But a lot of what is on here is a culmination of years of trying different things and or calling out to different vendors and having them craft certain things. For example, this particular, it's called the Knurly now, but I had SoCal SW make this for me years, more years than I can remember. And this became a product on his site as well. I don't remember where I got this one from. I don't know if this is a crimson, and I can't remember if Knurly, SoCal SW, had to trim this down, which is something I do with my own lathe right now to fit that. But this is a great combination. I like having the solid aluminum cap as well as the bullet powder separator for when I'm running powder and I'm reloading and I have to, decap a bullet. I just throw it in here, powder drains down, bullet stays up there. When I get a couple, then I toss them to the side to my dual bin mount. Standard Hornady configuration from the powder drop perspective. This particular insert or insert holder is another gem from Jack at Unique Parts. You can see part of the light system here and here. There's actually three. Is there three or two? No, there's only two. There's two bright as heck LEDs that maybe I'll try and showcase with the lights off, as well as when we go down the press a little bit, an LED in the center of the press. The latest addition to the press was this particular thing. This is called, I think it's some really plain, I'll put the snapshot of the paper up right now because Hornady calls it something like primer tube system something, and it's actually the cover for the priming tube system, because the original 3-prong Hornady cover pops off. As soon as you start priming, it just pops out. So this particular, and I did a separate video on this, which will probably be out before this video. But this is a nice little gem. Pretty standard stuff as we move down the press. Pretty standard stuff on the powder drop, Hornady rings, lock-and-load bushings with the shims in it. I also run an RCBS lockout die. I will never run a press, a progressive press without the lockout die. I think it's simply the best mechanism for powder check out there because it actually locks the die, and I have locks the press, and I have I think a video or two out on this particular bad boy. I think this is an upgraded piece that allows this slide to pop out, pop in more easily than the one that was included with Hornady. Can't remember, it's been so long. Like I said, this light here in the center that hopefully you can see me popping up and down, this LED light, and I'll plug all these in, is something from Unique Parts as well. There's plenty of stuff from Inline Fabrication as well, dusty stuff, even with the covers on, off to the side here. And again, when we move around to the other side of the press, I always run the dual bins for brass and projectile heads, as well as my collection bin, another Unique Parts top and I put I don't know what this cushiony crap is called, but I put that in there to reduce the bounce of the bullets a little bit. So there's the dual bin, and again, we'll see that more on the other side. Moving around here, here's the SoCal SW Mag-P. I absolutely love this. You know, people say, oh, why don't you just get a bullet feeder? Because I don't want too much electronics. I like the analogness of what all this is. So years ago, I think when I first did my bullet feeding video, I had the Hornady, as this is, Hornady bullet feeding die with the Hornady tube, single tube, and it was just a concoction of, you know, screws and bolts to try and keep that from jumping out, because it would jump up and it would pop out. But this is I love this particular Mag-P loader, and I think you've seen over time, let me get my head in the way. This is my device that I load the Mag-P. So I just put the bullets in line, slide them into the Mag-P, actually on this side with the divot, and that works out quite well. Minimal handling of the bullets, but you know, it is what it is. There's always some touchy. So we've got a Hornady die for the powder charge. We've got an RCBS for the lockout. We've got a Hornady die for the bullet feeding. We have an RCBS for the bullet seating and crimp. I'm not the biggest fan of seating and crimp all in one. I would prefer to have a separate seat and then a Lee factory crimp die for my dedicated crimp, but that's just not the case. And then over here we have a Lee sizing, resizing, and decapping die, and this setup has worked great for me. I have absolutely no complaints. Stepping down here a little bit, I don't know if you can see this. Let me lower the camera. We have Inline Fabrication. I have modified this particular handle for a shorter throw. So love this the way it is. It's also on a custom Inline Fabrication. How many inches is that? 4 and some change. Let's check. 5 inch, 4 and 3/4. 4 and 3/4 inch. This is a dedicated mount. So this is before he was doing the 2 pieces cut in half. So this was a gem for getting the press to the height that I wanted it. And you know, again, everybody has their personal preferences, and this particular height is what works for me. I've also got down here in the bottom, I think Hornady actually includes this now with the lock and load, but this was the primer catch, and I took this as the example and did the same thing with my Dillon, so that keeps keeps the primers from flying all over the floor. So that's a win. Nothing special here. I've not done anything with the plate, nothing special with the blast shield. So all of this is relatively, standard. This I did the piece of oak with a Hornady inlay just to give it a little bit of character. But let me move the camera over to the other side, because the other side is where all the interesting action is. Hang on one second. All right, so I've turned off the lights, just getting ambient light, and I'll turn on the center, the tool head light, which is LED. And again, this is also from Unique Parts. So depending on, and that throws off quite a bit of light. So again, depending on, I don't usually reload in the dark, but it gives me very, very focused light. And on the, this is the base of the Unique Parts case reloading system. And what makes this so different than everything else is it's just not mounted to the back of the lock and load. It's mounted within a steel tube that goes 3 feet high. And here is, I keep going, here is one of the 2 lights that I'll pop on. And you can see that. And there's one over on this side too. So it lights up the handle area as well as the bullet, the bin area. So again, I'll turn that off again. You can see the difference. On, rather off, on. So, you could be in a dark room and be reloading quite effectively with this solution. So let me turn all the lights back on and continue with the case feeding. As I was editing my video on how I run my lock and load in 2024, I realized I forgot what I would call an important addition to the press, and that is this particular device, an inline fabrication mount addition. So this is made for the Hornady press, and if you recall, if you own a Hornady press, you know that this press comes with a really cheesy aluminum plate that mounts to the press, to the side of the press, actually to the back of the press, and it catches, it has the bin, if I remember right, it's been a long time, I think it's seated like this. That thing is just, over time, the weight, the material it's made from, it's just not good. This is an amazing addition from inline fabrication for the Hornady press. That obviously it aligns, you have to take the press off, you put this plate underneath, so on top of your flush plate, and then you mount the press on top of this. And it is just rock solid. I can put a bin twice this size and fill it up with bullets twice this size, and I don't get any issues because that is that's a solid piece of steel. This is not aluminum, and just like everything else that inline fabrication makes, it's a very heavy-duty, robust, and a little bit dirty because I use my press piece of equipment, and it rocks. So I wanted to make sure that this made it into the video. Again, cool addition for anybody who runs a lock and load press. So again, I will always have brass and bullets in here and close by, just because whether there's an issue where I'm almost out and I'm not going to refill the mag P, I only have maybe 10 more bullets to do, so I'm just not going to refill that mag P or whatever. Love this particular, I'll call this old school in terms of having everything close by. The case feeding system by Unique Parts is without question the most robust. I'll try and do a slow pan. Very adjustable, for locking out your brass. So there's, you know, when these don't line up, now it's open, so your brass will flow. The extra support, the shell plate holder, which you can't see because that's higher up. The shell plate holder, again, the lighting system, and then very similar to the Lee for putting your brass in here, shaking it around, and having them drop to fill all the tubes. I have never had issues with this particular configuration. The only fine-tuning that has to happen with this, and if you look at how smooth, I mean, this is built so robustly. The 3D printing is just, when you look at the bolts that are in here, the nuts that are in here, everything is form fitted. This is an amazing case feeder for the money. The only thing I ever have to do is adjust the hex screw in here when, after a few thousand rounds, this will move forward and begin to touch this lip a little bit, this right in here. I adjust this back and everything is fine. I run it so that it's just barely skimming this particular tube. And this is just, I mean, it is rock solid robust. It is an amazing piece of design and build and print. It is, in my opinion, the single best case feeding system, analog case feeding system for the lock-and-load that is out on the market. And then years ago, I mean, I've had this, I think, about 2 years now, 3 years. It's so we're at 309 here. We'll reset it. I have it because I stand in front of my press. And I will do a comparison of what I like about my lock-and-load better than my XL750, and then what I like about my XL750 better than my lock-and-load. But for me, I'm standing directly in front of the press. So this bullet counter, this completed round counter, whatever you want to call it, it will increment every time the ram is pulled. So is it accurate for keeping track of your primers and your completed rounds? Somewhat. Do I use it for that? Not really. I use it more for, you know, have I done 100, or have I done 300, or am I 350 when I'm wanting to do 400, or something along those lines. I know that, you know, I can get out of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think 25, roughly 150 bullets in here. So, you know, depending on how many rounds I want to do, how many rounds I want to complete, is how many times I want to fill this. Same thing with primers. You know, primers are 100 per primer fill. So if I want to do 150, I'm filling my primer tube a couple times. Again, I think you've seen me use my double alpha Prima fill, I think it's called, Primafill. I think that's a wonderful device. But this is, you know, people rag on the Hornady. They'll say, oh, it's not the Dillon. I have had as many issues with my Dillon as I have with my Hornady. So it's not that one is better than the other. It's just that they're different. They're just different machines, and I like both of them. You know, am I irritated with this spring? Yeah, at times I am. With this plate system, sure. Same thing with the Dillon with the little brass pins. But in terms of the overall functionality, to me, this setup with the unique parts case system, and I'm going to call it more than just a case system, because when you look at how you can configure this in terms of putting the finish round counter, the case feeder, other options on this particular, you know, I want to say that's about an inch tube, and it's not a thin metal too. It's pretty robust. So and the way it locks on in the back, and then I'm able to also use my inline fabrication dual bin This gives me everything I need from an analog perspective that, say, an ammo plant would provide. You know, I think these are like $70, $60 at SoCal SW. Combining this with a Hornady bullet feed or a Lee bullet feeder, as I've done with a Lock-n-Load with a little bushing inside of it to make it actually work, is just great stuff. I mean, I am beyond satisfied with how this press performs for me at this point of my reloading career. The only bummer for me is I wish Hornady would come out with greater than 5 stations. Take this same device, put it on steroids and make it 8, make it 10. You don't have to redesign everything. Use the same design and just make the tool heads bigger so they rotate to accommodate 10 stations. I mean, can't be that difficult. I don't believe the Frankfurt Arsenal X10 has been the success they thought it would be. I think the Hornady and the Dillon are just rock solid presses, and the way this is configured for me and my reloading needs is pure heaven. So again, I know Unique Parts. I've had people ping me about Unique Parts. They used to have a website. He's out of Australia, Jack out of Australia. I think it's Jack Chan. And the last time I looked him up a couple months ago when somebody asked, he doesn't have his website active anymore, and he's selling through eBay. So if you look for Unique Parts Australia, you'll find this stuff, and it is worth every single penny, in my opinion. So that is it for now. This is how I run my Hornady Lock-n-Load in 2024. I'm always on the lookout for enhancements, you know, just as I've added this particular primer tube cover to enhance my reloading so that this thing isn't dancing all over the place. A lot of people have complained about how unreliable the Hornady priming system is. I find the Hornady priming system just as reliable as the Dillon. I put them both on a par, same methodology. It's inline vertical feed with a shuttle pushing the primer forward. And if you keep your parts clean, you're good. You could say that without anything with the press. Keep it clean and it will function. But I love how this press is set up, and this is all set up for 45 ACP. I do not change calibers, and it is locked in for that. So this is how I run my Lock-n-Load in 2024.